And we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hi guys.
Very nice to see you all here. Hi, and welcome back to the ones who have already been with us in December when we had our first live stream. Welcome to the new ones that join in for the first time. Of course, also happy for everyone who is watching that later on YouTube or LinkedIn. My name is Aaron. I'm one of the three co-founders of Trufflepig Forensics, CEO of the company. With me today, as last time, is Chris. Chris is our CTO, also one of the co-founders. And yeah, it's my pleasure to guide you today, well, through the first part at least of our Nexus 1.1 update webinar. So short note in the beginning, we will be doing those webinars frequently, as we announced before. So we plan on doing them, let's say, every month or 2 months, especially when we have a big update coming, as we had it this time. We're always happy to guide you through everything that's new and exciting for us and for you, of course, hopefully too. I want to start by saying 1 or 2 words regarding our latest update that we published in January and that this webinar is about. And then I'll hand it over to Chris to really guide you through a technical demonstration and also a practical use case. Very excited for that one. Just a few words in the beginning. So initially, of course, this update was planned to go live much earlier. We planned to launch it in November initially. It took us longer, and it is, I think, really justified at this point to apologize for this delay. We're planning on, of course, being faster, but when you get into details, and especially a rework of that size, Chris is gonna explain that with a bit more detail. Unexpected things can happen and did happen in our case. The whole rework of the back end, the front end, and the database, of course, which is the main feature that we brought in, turned out to be way more complex than we initially anticipated. We are, however, now in a much better position with regards to our framework, so it is much more scalable now. It sets the ground for all the feature development that we have planned for this year. And I think we are internally very proud that we made it to this step and that we have now a really scalable, fast infrastructure, which will make your life hopefully much easier as well. So again, we apologize for the delay. We do whatever we can to not cause any major delays again in the future. We look forward, of course, to everything that is coming from now on. With that being said, I think it's time to hand over to Chris. We got really exciting stuff today to show you, and it's my pleasure to host you today, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So let's dive right in. We have some interesting things to discuss here, if you're, could you please switch to the presentation? Perfect, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so first, Aaron already told you about the reasons for the delay, or a bit about the background. And now I will first show you what we are working on and what we can build on top of that update that we got. Talk about some bug fixes that we have up for the upcoming release that will be in 7 days. So next week on Wednesday. It's a bug fix release, so we will just have minor things there. And I will also show you in the Dump Me challenge that we actually wanted to do last time, a few of the new features, at least some previews. They're not really stable yet, but some of them just made it into the product in the last, 2 hours, and I will show them. So yeah, bear with me if something breaks. But yeah, really excited for those because there's actually a lot happening in a short amount of time. We of course need to properly test everything, and that will take some time. But yeah, it's nice to see that in general development speed goes up. So yeah, right now we are working on like 4, I would say, major things. One is you can summarize one with shim cache, which is the main feature that we will bring in the 1.2. The basis for that is basically the database and the registry parser that we fixed or implemented and fixed in the last release. There are actually some fixes in the 1.1.1, so the fix update that will go out next week for the registry. I will talk about them in a bit. And yeah, the shim cache parser will go in with the 1.2. And on top of all the other things, all the groundwork that we've done, we can now also pretty easily integrate AM cache parsing, shellbacks, LSA hashes, hash extraction from the registry, like the sys key, or LM and NT hashes from the users. So that's really exciting, and I can show you some preview of that as well later. Yeah, for the Windows clipboard, we have a first proof of concept of that working. It was necessary to first get stations and sessions, which are already in 1.1. And we will improve accessibility of them and integration into the front end in general, or in the infrastructure. And of course, then the clipboard and other artifacts, like, for example, atom tables, and more GUI artifacts, for some reason, they're cut out of the presentation. Then the AGAP license system. So right now, you can enter a license on an AGAP system. The problem, so even in the 1.1, the problem is that it's not really intuitive. It just asks for a license, I think actually for a license key. And that's not really true, because you should enter a license there, and the license key and the license, they are different things. So with the license key, you can download the license, and the license key will stay persistent over different licensees. So you can purchase. So you will always get with the same key a new license, and that is not really intuitive. And we should also integrate a just license key into that UX workflow, and actually provide an option where you can download the license easily. I will build a very simple front end for that in the next couple of days or weeks, so that you will be able to just download the license, put it to an offline system, and work with it there really easily.
Chris, one remark. There's a question in the chat. I saw that. Do you plan on bringing out a dongle version? We only need one license, but switch our workstation quite frequently. And thanks for the question. We encourage everyone to ask questions. We try to answer them immediately.
Yeah. So for the dongle, it was not really requested so far. So we were thinking about it, but said, okay, that would take a lot of time, and the benefit is, I would say, limited. So in my eyes, the main benefit would be for us that we could enforce, or we could think that we could enforce the license agreement. The problem is, to my experience, those kind of security options or license enforcement options get hacked like within a matter of days, and you pay like thousands or even millions of dollars on them, and in the end they bring you like 5 days of freedom. So in my eyes, it's not really worth it. So what we basically did is we have the licenses, and you can transfer a license from one system to another, and we basically trust that you will only use it on one system at once. That's the basically the scheme that we've implemented.
So yeah, basically you can download the software on as many machines as you want with a trial version, and where you want to use your license, you just enter the license key and it should work.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course you should only enter it on one machine in parallel. But you can of course switch it or switch the machine. The last big feature is the hibernation file. I think last webinar I spoke about.
So just there was a follow-up. So I basically built my own dongle. That was the conclusion.
Yeah. Basically a USB stick with a license on it. The last big feature will be hibernation file support that we are working on right now. I think last webinar I said that we probably need to convert it to a different file format, like for example crash dump, and then be able to analyze that. Luckily that's not the case. So we now know exactly how the data structures look, and we started implementing a reader on it. So we will most likely be able to provide a native reader for hibernation file that is able to quickly analyze those images, and I think we can even build some performance improvements for those file formats, like so for file formats like crash dump, hibernation file, probably vmem as well, and some others that do store meta information. There we can implement some performance improvements. They won't be like huge because the parts, so they will be bigger for bigger images. So if you have a terabyte of data to scan, there will be probably a significant performance improve to the current implementation. But for smaller image, the difference is like, so I tested with one image the last couple of days, 5 gigabytes, I think. On my workstation, the time difference would be 1 to 2 seconds for 7 seconds analysis time, so not that relevant. Okay, bug fixes. There were unfortunately some not that nice bugs in the release. It was a pretty big hassle to get it out in the end. We fixed most of the bugs that we are aware of, except for one, I would say. So when you do analysis, and that's the framework fix here, so the batch update fix. When you do the analysis, you need to reload after the analysis is done. So just reload the page, and then you will see all the labels or batches, how many artifacts were found, and so on. That's of course really annoying and shouldn't be the case. And that's in the framework we have, not that easy to fix, but once we fixed it, it will just work for everything. We're working on that. The other things that we knew of, like for example, on smaller screens in the front end, when you have a subtable, so if you have an artifact like a process, and you go to some subtable of that process in the details view, then you couldn't scroll that table, and that's of course also pretty annoying. And we didn't realize on our screens before the release, because we just didn't need to scroll those tables. That's fixed in the upcoming release next week, and in the minion we found like 2 or 3 issues in the registry parsing that led to several problems. One of which was, for example, when reading a big binary key, so like multiple kilobytes, then it might have happened that the later part of the key gets messed up, of the value, and that's of course not nice. So we fixed that. We realized it when implementing the shim cache. That works now. So yeah, that bug is fixed. And a performance increase that was really nice. So I realized in the CTF image that I will demonstrate later that one part of the analysis is pretty slow. It took like 2 minutes. And I was really annoyed by it because I was testing over and over again, and usually that works like within a matter of a few seconds. And there I had to wait for a bit more than 2 minutes, I think, every time I tested, and that was so annoying. So I was taking a look at what's taking so long, and realized it was one part of the analysis that I initially thought would be relatively fast, and it is relatively fast. But it is single-threaded, and in some images there was a lot of memory that had to be scanned for this heuristic, and I managed to reduce the data that needs to be scanned from, like, in that specific image, like 480 megabytes to I think 4 or 8 megabytes, something like that. So that was really significant, and now we are at like 7 seconds for that image, pure analysis time, and that was of course really, really nice to find. Yeah, and that brings me to the Dump Me challenge. Spoiler alert, it's a CTF, and I will show the solutions. So if you don't know it, I'm sorry. And yeah, I will quickly go over and start explaining. Okay, so the challenge is you can find it at cyberdefenders.org. You need to register, and then you can access all their CTFs. Here on practice, you can just search for Dump Me for the specific challenge. Log in, download the zip, unzip it. There is a password, cyberdefenders.org, and yeah, then you can pretty much start. As a side note, there are still some things not working with Nexus, or not nicely working, and I will go over each question. Talk a bit about the relevance of that specific feature or that question, why it was asked, and tell you a bit also about the future development that we have planned with Nexus. So starting with the first question, what is the SHA-1 hash of the triage mem dump? That is, of course, to ensure integrity of the data. So once you initially do a memory dump, you want to check later on in the analysis process if the hash changed, and also if someday someone wants to start an argument about if it's still the original artifact, then you can always come back to the hash and say, yeah, hey, it's the original hash. In this case, I would argue that SHA-1 is not a good choice necessarily, so we are still a bit fighting against the thought to implement old algorithms like MD5 or SHA-1. So we will definitely implement SHA-3 because that is a multi-threadable algorithm, and basically the whole framework is built to run in parallel. And if we implement SHA-1 or 2 or MD5, that will be the slowest task of all. So that will probably take for that image like I don't know, but it's single threaded and it's slow. So
Chris, could you zoom in a bit?
yeah, sure, I will zoom in. I hope it's better now. So the next question, the volatility profile. Of course, the profile that we will need is not really relevant when using Nexus, but the RTM. So we don't show the exact profile, but we will, we do show the RTM build version. So we can quickly jump to Nexus. I've already created the project and analyzed it. So now we just need to click on it and we are back in. The RTM build version is in meta info. So we can just go here and there's the RTM build version. And it's 7601. And if I want to know which exact Windows version it is, I can just go to Wikipedia. There's a list of all Windows versions. I think I can zoom in a bit here as well. Yeah, there's a list of all Windows versions, and this specific RTM build is a Windows 7 Service Pack 1, and it's a 64-bit version. So it's AMD 64. So the exact profile would be Win 7 SP1 X64. So we can submit the first one, and that's correct. Okay, third question. What was the process ID of notepad.exe? That's simple. Oops. For that, we can just go to Process, go to Filters, add a new one. We want to search for name, and we want it to start with Node, and there we go. Process ID is 3032. So just enter it here, submit, done. And of course, the question looks for if you know what a process ID is and if you can find it using volatility with a PSList or PSScan plugin. Yeah, what's the child process of wscript.exe? So in volatility, for this you either need the PS3 plugin, I think. There you can see the parent-child relations between processes, and it's easier to find it with that. We also do have a tree. You can switch between the process list and process tree in the top bar of the processes. And here we have the process tree on that small or zoomed in size. It's a bit bulky to use, but on a decent monitor size, you can quickly see everything. So yeah, here is the WS script process. Oh yeah, when zoomed in, the tooltip is pretty big. So the child process is is this one here. So we can just go over, copy paste the name, enter it here, submit. That's it. Perfect. Yeah, what is the IP address of the machine at the time the RAM dump was created? And the next question also, based on the answer regarding the infected process ID, can you determine the IP of the attacker? So those two questions, I will answer them, and they are pretty easy to answer. But first I will go over some other questions because, as you can already see in question 6, it's more or less based on another question that I will cover later on, and then it's like one click and we can answer both questions fairly easily. So yeah, I will skip them for now. Yeah, the next question: how many processes are associated with VC runtime 140.dll? So before today, when searching in Nexus for VC runtime 140.dll, you could find one process. So you could basically go to modules and then add a new filter, search for path ends with, contains or ends with VC runtime. Oh, sorry. And right now it's case sensitive, so you need to be aware of that. We will add a checkbox in the probably 1.2 release so that you can do case insensitive search. So when searching for VC runtime, you could only see this one result in office click to run.exe. And that's not the correct answer. And that was because we were only parsing the process environment block for in the user land for loaded DLLs. But in the VAT regions, so the memory regions of the process, there were multiple handles to other VC runtime DLLs, not capital actually. And today I just, or now like half an hour or maybe an hour ago, I finished the implementation or proof of concept implementation for adding all the VAT information in the modules section here. And that's why they don't have an entry point, and the load time is not correct, because they are references from, basically from the VAT regions. So now you can see 5 processes in this list, and the last process, office click to run.exe, has 2 library, or it's basically the same library, one capital and one not capital. So it's 5 processes. The correct answer here is 5. There we go. Next question. After dumping the infected process, what is its MD5 hash? So we don't know yet which process is infected, or if you pay close attention, you will know it by now. But the problem is that so for getting the right MD5 hash, you need to unmap the PE, the memory map PE file, so that it is the more or less disk version of the file, and then hash it. And we did not implement that yet. And right now, we don't have interface persistence in the database, so that is also a work in progress. I forgot to include it in the slides, but we're working on that as well. That basically means when you close a project and reopen it, there's currently no way of saying, okay, we reopen all the readers that were opened, and we can read process memory, and we can read all kind of stuff like that. And we need that interface persistence. Before it wasn't a problem because we didn't have the database. So once you reload the front end, you had to reload the whole, rescan the whole project, and then all interfaces were there. Now we need that interface persistence, and it's because it is scalable and future-proof. It is a pretty complex system to set up, so that's why it takes a bit longer. But then we will be able to also address that feature and implement it. That's basically it. So this will, we can solve that together in like a few months, maybe the next, or the webinar after the next. We will come back to it. What is the LM hash of Bob's account? That's a problematic question. That's one of the features I just finished, or we just finished. We do have user information now, at least a proof of concept for user information. So we have Bob the user, And we do have a password hash here, but it's NTLM hash and not LM hash. And I'm pretty sure that hash is wrong. So I've implemented according to some papers I found, and it is the same hash that volatility, for example, finds. But I'm pretty sure the NTLM hash here is wrong, because there are some offsets in the 64-bit version a bit different to what it is in the 32-bit version. So I need to adjust them and test it out properly, and then we can also test to brute force attack an NTLM hash and retrieve the password. And yeah, but that user doesn't have an LM hash, but they are asking for it here, and it's starting with AAD3. So, oops, sorry. Oops. Yeah. Not my laptop, sorry guys. Of course I mistyped. Okay, I will quickly search for it. There we go. Here we are at volatility 2. And we can take a look at, I think it was in Win32 hash dump. And if we take a look here, there is an empty LM hash right in the start of the file, and it's statically implemented here. And it starts with AAD3. So what happens if we enter that here? That's correct. So of course, this question wants to see if you can use the hashdump plugin in volatility, but it's not the actual LM hash for Bob's password, because he just doesn't have an LM hash. Okay, so for the next two questions, they are asking about the virtual address descriptors and the addresses here. That is more or less a framework feature that we don't have so far. So we do have the virtual addresses, but you can't properly search and filter for them. So we will need to implement that first in order to efficiently solve those questions. But the questions are not like really realistic, I would say. They try to see if you can work with VAT regions. And yeah, we do have, we do have memory regions. There we go. And I need to scroll over here. So there you can see we do have the base addresses. There are sometimes references to threads when it's a stack region, for example. There are files mapped. There are libraries mapped. All kinds of things, and that for different processes, of course. So you can take a look at them here, or of course in the details view of a process, you will also see modules. Memory regions. And you can look at them here. Yeah. So we will of course implement those features in the framework so that we can also easily solve those two questions here. But right now it doesn't work very well. There was a VBS script that ran on the machine. What is the name of the script? Okay. I remember a process that they were asking about before. Somewhere up here. Or was it? There we go. The child process of wscript.exe. Okay. let's take a look at that.
Chris, there's a comment by Søren. Hi, Søren. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Yeah, regarding the extraction of the correct NTLM hash, you should take a look at the implementation of Mimikatz. He suggested.
Oh yeah. So Mimikatz, as far as I'm aware, I'm not entirely sure, but I think Mimikatz takes LSASS as source. So right now we have the registry as source. I'm not sure about the exact differences there, but I think it should be also possible with the registry, and I'm not sure if Mimikatz supports the registry. But yeah, I will definitely take a look at that. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to check out the process, right? The WS script. So it was up here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, we can take a look at it. And in the command line, you can see that there is a VBS script that was executed with this program, and yeah, that's all. Pretty much the answer to that question. Okay, next question. An application was run at that time. What is the name of the program? Include extension. Okay. So we can go back to processes. Unfortunately, we don't have the event view or the timeline view yet. Of course, when we have the timeline view, then you will be able to just zoom to that date or time and directly see that there was an event that this process was started. And yeah, that's of course pretty easy then to answer. Here you can now sort for start time in the process list, and yeah, the other way around, please. And this is a 22nd of March, and the question was about 7th of March. So this system was obviously started after that time. So we need another source of data, and this is also a preview feature that will come with the 1.2 update, but we do have Shemcache parsing implemented, so we can go to the Shemcache events and sort for start day here. And there we can see there are events dating back to 2005. So this is really like, if you're lucky, you can find information from a long time ago here. Yeah, but I think ordering it the other way around is better. So like that. And then we can click through. Filtering for start doesn't really work yet, so you can't easily type here, to use a time picker or something here. So like this, it works as well, like just clicking through a bit. But we will also add, of course, a proper date time picker, and also other things. So like there are enums in certain processes, certain artifacts that we have, and you can of course also then search for or filter for those enum values. But yeah, that's also a framework feature that we need to integrate first. Okay, so that was too far. So 7th of March. So that was basically, there are for I think every process there are 2 events that has something to do with the structure of the registry in general, because they have 2 control sets for different use cases, and each of them holds a shim cache, and we are parsing both. So in this case, we are getting like every event twice. We will need to check out how we can reduce the number of events to the actual number of events. But yeah, as I said, it's a beta feature for now. And yeah, it was Skype.exe that was started a few days ago. So we can just enter Skype.exe here, and there we go. That's it. Yeah, the reason they asked that question is the shim cache is a pretty interesting source of information, because many malware or threat actors will forget to delete the shim cache, and when you're still able to access the shim cache in memory, it will have the data for the current session as well. Whereas when you shut down the PC, if you orderly shut down the PC, it will get flushed to disk. So on disk there's only the old data, and if you plug out the PC, the shim cache data is gone. So yeah, interesting source of information, completely independent from event log and stuff like that. So yeah, keep that in mind when you don't have event logs because they were deleted or something like that. What was written in notepad.exe at the time when the memory dump was captured? Yeah, so one thing I already said, unfortunately we can't dump the memory regions because we don't have the interface in the database. But I can show you some information that are interesting about this. So, or how we could approach that in future with Nexus. So we have some plans for that. So first we can just search for, starts with, Notepad. Go to Notepad again. And then take a look at the memory regions. So we know it was written in Notepad, so we can be pretty sure it's a heap. So we can sort for the type of the memory regions, and we only have a couple of heaps here. So that's good. There's way less to take a look at when knowing it's a heap region. And the next interesting thing is we already extracted some information about allocations. So each heap memory region is divided into specific allocations, and there are different implementations for different heap implementations. And in this case, we've implemented the NT backend heap. So there are like multiple other sources like the NT front-end heap, the segment heap, which is also divided into backend and front-end, and I think 2 or 3 more subtypes that we'll need to implement to have a full set of all allocations that were taken, at least for Windows applications. And then of course there are other implementations like the GNU implementation of the heap and stuff like that, that we will add in the next, I don't know, when it's requested, basically, or requested enough. Yeah, so here we now know for this, so I can tell you, spoiler alert, the Notepad still uses the NT backend heap. They can change it with a build time setting in the when compiling the application, but Notepad is still, or at least in this Windows version, was still using the NT backend. So when we sort for blob size, we can roughly guess that the allocation is relatively small because there is just flag and a few characters after that. And it's WCHAR encoded, so it's 16-bit, not 8-bit. So it should be bigger than 24 bytes, but smaller than, like, I don't know, 100 bytes or so. So somewhere in that range. And that's not a lot of allocations, and they are all pretty small. And what we want to do now on top of that is basically automated analysis of these allocations, and try to find, for example, text allocations, so like the strings utility and stuff like that. We are actually evaluating if it's feasible to integrate bulk extractor to scan those allocations for interesting data very quickly. So in this case, in this specific case, I know that the allocation is in here, and it's a 88-byte allocation. I think it's this one. So right at the start of this allocation, if we could have a hex viewer, we could directly see that there's the flag. So yeah, a bit more features on top here, and we will be able to very easily extract that information and directly show it. Also for a lot of other things, like browser history and stuff. All those things where you might have a string in memory. Until we have it properly implemented, like for example, as I said, browser history, you will probably be able to retrieve information about that with those more generic methods. Okay, so yeah, we will do that also in future. Question 15, what is the short name of the file at file record 59,045. This will require a feature that we don't have implemented yet. So this is, and we've actually didn't even take a look at that yet. So this is basically requiring MFT parsing in memory, so file system information that are still, or that are memory resident, that you can then analyze and get information about the file system with it. So yeah, that will definitely take some time to implement that, and is not top priority in the current roadmap. But yeah, as always, just let us know if you need a feature, and we do prioritize on user feedback. Okay, question 16, which is probably the most interesting question. This box was exploited and is running Metapreter. What was the infected process ID? Okay, so we have two ways of doing that now. One, which you might have already spotted, is there is a colored frame around that weird looking process, and that means it has an IOC, so an indicator of compromise, and that is a Metapreter reverse shell hit from the Yara scanners. We can, for that, of course, also go to the IOC table here, and if we are lazy because we know, okay, there is a lot of pages with weird access rights, we can just sort the other way around, and we'll directly see that there is a Metapreter reverse shell found. So that's the answer to that question. Oops. 3496 is the answer, because that's the process ID of that weird process. Now we can go back to the two questions that I skipped earlier. specifically this question. We can take a look at that now. So we can just click on the process for the process details. There we directly see one network connection, and of course something breaks. I will just reload the front end. Sorry for that. Oops. Okay, let's go to IOCs. Or the other way around. Go here. Network connections. There we go. That's the network connection. And the remote address is this here. And it's still established. So that is a very easy way of determining the attacker IP address. And the local IP address is the one for my current machine. So that's the answer to question 5. Yeah, as I said, that was really easy when solving the other questions. That was it for now with the demo. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, I will hand it over to Aaron again. Maybe you have some words.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for your attention, of course, also from my side. And yeah, please also feel free to provide us with feedback regarding this format. We are still, early also with this webinar format, and we try to create interesting content for you, which is both informative with regards to Trufflepig Nexus, but also in general with regards to memory analysis. So yeah, just let us know what you think about it and how we can improve to make this format really beneficial for everyone. And yeah, I'm looking at the YouTube chat now. I unfortunately cannot see anything that's going on LinkedIn at the moment. We are streaming both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm sure someone will let me know if there are questions coming in from LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, no, it's YouTube only, but
okay.
Yeah.
I just got the comment. It's only on YouTube, of course. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have a question.
So yeah, a question about the MFT features and other NTFS artifacts. Yeah, as I mentioned, of course they are on the roadmap. In general, file system artifacts, but they are not really high on the priority list because they are just not frequently requested. So if that's a feature that is more requested, it will of course go up in the prioritization. Oh, thanks.
Okay, so if any of you has more questions, just let us know. If you're watching this later, you can also always reach us using our contact email. Send us a question. Yeah, we are happy to answer all sorts of questions related to us, to our product, and also to memory forensics in general. So yeah, if you're interested, just get in touch.
Yeah, and you can also just ask on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We will answer. Plans for integrating into EDR tools such as MS Defender for endpoint. Okay, so EDR integrations. So we have thought about that or talked internally about it. There is no final decision on it yet. We don't have any specific plans on it, but it is definitely something we are thinking about. and we will re-evaluate as we go in the next.
No, I mean, in general, we know that it's important to integrate with other tools,
Yeah.
and we look at that closely. It's just a bit of a question where we with Nexus want to go at the moment. So as we are heading into really expanding the capabilities of this tool, which is allowing for multi-image analysis and also for distributed remote, let's say, live analysis, it gets to a point where we have to question whether we want to integrate into other tools, or we want to integrate data from other tools into our tool so that it can be looked at there. I think this is the main question that we have to solve here in order to come to a decision. But yeah, I mean, maybe it can be both. Yeah, maybe it could be that we say for the basic tool, Trufflepig Nexus, we have an option to integrate into bigger frameworks. And as we develop the tool further into a bigger, let's say, triaging tool, for example, we then add the option to integrate other tools into ours as well, like this way. But yeah, again, bear with us there for a final decision. And I mean, final is always relative, so we will come to a decision. If it's useful for you, of course, let us know, and this will make the decision easier then.
Yeah, and it's also, of course, depends on the user feedback. Initially, we also talked a lot with mostly German law enforcement agencies when it comes to, for example, cloud analysis, and they were all like, they can't put data to the cloud, and now we do have requests on providing a cloud solution. So now that's also on the roadmap, that you can upload images and analyze it in the cloud, or stream data to the cloud from a local analysis, so that you only run the minion locally and everything else is in the cloud. You don't need to set anything up, or you just need to start the minion and can start analyzing.
There's a bit of background. So the biggest issue for us is to actually acquire the data and get the RAM snapshot from A to B. That's the background of the question.
Yeah.
Again, this will also be easier if we get this distributed functionality in, so that again the memory gets acquired. So we plan on, and I think in the last podcast you said something about acquisition capabilities. Is there any update, Chris? Maybe? But yet to end the sentence, we definitely, or this will get much easier if we have the feature to collect memory or acquire memory remotely, stream it to a central analysis machine, and then analyze it all together at this machine.
Yeah. With the acquisition, there's not much progress so far. There are other more pressing issues. But yeah, I think in how it looks at the moment, in 2 to 4 weeks, I can probably start taking a look at that, but that also always changes. But yeah, it is pretty high on the priority list by now. And now I'm also personally eager to go back to memory acquisition, because that's kind of where I started off in memory forensics. And yeah, going back to it, I think I mentioned we do have some pretty interesting proof of concepts for new technologies in the area of memory acquisition. And yeah, a lot of interesting thoughts about memory acquisition in general, or also live analysis of systems. So we will definitely explore that. Oh yeah, one update happened basically. So a framework that we want to use for the live analysis had an update, and previously they only supported Intel CPUs, not AMD. now they do support AMD, and they also plan on expanding to ARM, I think. So that's really interesting. So that framework becomes more and more stable, and yeah, we will very likely go with that, and that takes a lot of work off from us because we don't need to worry about that anymore, like platform support or stuff like that anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free. We are here. We have our coffee and are happy to answer questions. Yeah, if not, I would say we can end it here. Yeah, thanks again for your attention and the patience. I mean, it took a while to go through it, I think, but hopefully you learned something on the way. And yeah, also for the good questions. Really, really encouraging to see that you're so much involved in the topic and care about it. And yeah, it's great to build a community around memory forensics and our tool. Okay, yeah, there's another question. Internet history, social media analysis. What about that, Chris?
Yeah, so we actually started to cooperate with universities, and we do have a team of students taking a look at Chromium artifacts, and yeah, potentially more. But yeah, for now, they will take a look at Chromium. So we will have, yeah, maybe in like half a year, artifacts from Chromium, like history, maybe passwords and stuff like that, in the product. And also like session tokens that we can then use and further process to access APIs of third parties, like chat history and stuff like that. Maybe we will see.
Yeah, I think in general we are working on getting from the stage where the data is rather raw in the product,
Yeah.
and you have to do a lot of work yourself, to a stage where we take a lot of that work away from you by automating the analysis. This is our vision in general. Has always been our vision and is our vision, to make things as easy as possible.
Yeah, and accessible, linking all the artifacts, making them really easily discoverable. Yeah.
Good. So
okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, the social media, Chris.
Oh yeah, social media. Yeah, we don't have a research group for that so far. But yeah, we will probably get one. So internally, we don't have the resources currently, because we are moving to that distributed IR platform. But whenever we find a research team that is interested in that, we will definitely go for it. It's also the same for other browsers, like for example Firefox, Tor, or yeah, and all the other topics. We have a list of topics, and that will increase drastically in the next few weeks because I have a lot that I want to build in. Yeah, so it mostly depends on if we find people who want to do research on that. Like students. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe as a final note now, before we really end it, I just want to say we have a podcast, the Truffleyzer. You can get more information from us there. We talk about various topics, in the field of IT security. Yeah, there's more to come in the future. We are happy to always record new episodes. If you have ideas or topics for new episodes that interest you, you can also let us know. But yeah, I just wanted to hint you or give you a hint that there's a podcast out there in case you are eager to learn more from our side. Okay. Oh, sorry. Now the questions are really coming in. Okay, thanks. I mean, we like it. Yeah. So, how about scanning after encrypted containers such as VeraCrypt?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
good question. Okay, so we do have a proof of concept for that for like how long? I don't know, 18
Years.
months or so. The main problem here was that we've had multiple reworks with the protocol, how minion and backend work together. We've had problems when porting to Windows. Now the memory part works on Windows, but the disk analysis still has some problems. We want to add proper multi-part image analysis so that we can also in the front end just display one file, where you can directly see, okay, there's one file that is or one image with like 20 files in there, or 100 or 1,000, and you only see one entry in the front end for that, and you can just add that to the analysis, stuff like that. And that's as we want to do it really properly, there needs to go a lot of thought into it, framework wise. And once we have that, and we have the SleuthKit integration again, and we can process disk images and everything, then we can also reintegrate the whole VeraCrypt decryption. And sorry, I was a bit confused by the by the overlay. We can re-add the VeraCrypt decryption, but that works in the proof of, or tech preview, it works, and we can decrypt VeraCrypt containers from with keys from memory. And no problem, don't worry about it. You can always ask.
Yeah, so this is a highly requested feature in general. So it is definitely high on the priority list, which you can just. Final hint now that I get the chance to talk again. We will relaunch the website very soon, and there will be updates. Also, the roadmap will be updated again. In general, we can now do more stuff with roadmap. So, roadmap is your source of truth for feature prioritization, information about feature prioritization and future development. All right, then another attempt on ending the webinar. Again, thanks for your attention. We would be glad to see you, let's say in 4 weeks, or when we have the next webinar. We will be probably 4 to 8 weeks. And happy to have you all join us again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Have a good day or have a good night wherever you are, and we see you soon.